Hello and welcome. When we're learning a new language, it's pretty common to think there's a simple one-to-one translation for everyday words. But what if I told you that in Chinese, a simple verb like to cut just explodes into this whole world of super specific descriptive words? Let's dive in and see what that looks like.
So just take a second to think about it. If you wanted to say, I'm going to cut the cake, or, hey, could you cut this rope? What Chinese word would you reach for? It sounds simple, right? Well, the answer is actually way more interesting than you might think.
And here's the big reveal. The thing is, there is no single all-purpose word for cut in Chinese. Instead, the language kind of forces you to be more specific. It asks, okay, what are you using to cut? And how are you cutting it? This incredible focus on detail is what makes Chinese verbs so vivid. They really paint a picture of the action.
To really get a handle on this, we're going to start with the fundamentals. We'll look at the words for cutting actual physical objects with common tools. This is where you can really start to see the logic of the language click into place.
First up, we have qie, and that's pronounced qie. This is your go-to word for slicing or dicing something, usually with a knife, like in the kitchen. Think cutting vegetables, or a birthday cake. The key here is that it's a controlled action without a ton of force. So remember, for slicing, it's qie.
And here is a perfect example. The sentence, 他正在切水果 means he is cutting the fruit. When you hear that, you can instantly picture someone slicing up an apple or an orange with a small knife. That specific action, that's 切.
Okay, now let's switch the tool. What if you're using scissors? Well, the verb changes completely. The word you need now is jian, pronounced jian. This character is used pretty much exclusively for that snipping motion of scissors. So you wouldn't use jian for a cake, and you definitely wouldn't use qie for cutting paper with scissors.
This example shows just how perfectly it all fits together. The sentence translates to, she used the scissors to cut the rope. You can see how the tool, jiandao for scissors, and the verb, jian, are directly linked. They basically reinforce each other. It's really elegant.
But what if you need to use some real force? What if you're not just slicing or snipping, but you're chopping? For that, we have kan, pronounced kan. This word implies a powerful, heavy action. You got to think of using an axe or a big machete. It has a totally different energy than qie.
And here's a great example. They cut down all the nearby trees. You can almost hear that heavy thud of an axe hitting a tree trunk. That action is kan, a big, forceful chop. See how choosing the right verb just creates a much clearer mental image?
All right, so we've covered the physical tools. Now let's take a look at how this same logic extends into the abstract world. I mean, how do you cut a movie scene or cut a budget? As you might have guessed, Chinese has specific descriptive words for these ideas too.
When it comes to editing a film or a video, the word is jianji, pronounced jianji. Now look closely. That first character is jian. Exact same one we use for cutting with scissors. It's this amazing little linguistic echo, hinting at the precise snipping action of an editor cutting bits of film.
For example, a sentence like, this movie has been cut multiple times, uses this word. We're not talking about a physical knife, but about the process of editing and refining media. That concept is jianji.
Now, for another really common abstract idea, cutting costs or a budget. The term here is 削减, pronounced 削减. This word implies a reduction, like you're whittling something down, paring back numbers or resources. It's a metaphorical kind of cutting to make something smaller. And here's a very practical example. Our top priority now is to cut expenses. This is exactly the kind of phrase you might hear in a business meeting. When the action is about reducing a number, the specific verb you need is 削减.
Okay, now that we have the fundamentals down, let's do a quick fire round of a few more very specific, but also very useful, ways to say cut. These really show you just how precise the language can get. Just look at this variety. For harvesting wheat with a scythe, that back and forth motion, you use watted. To completely cut off a resource like power or water, it's che duan. Cutting in line, yep, that has its very own phrase, cha dui. And if you're talking about a cut on your skin, a physical wound, the noun for that is shangkou. Every context has its own perfect word.
So, wow, we've covered a lot of ground here. Everything from slicing fruit to cutting a company's budget. Let's pull it all together and really focus on the main takeaway from all this.
Seeing all of these words together really drives the point home, doesn't it?
We went from slicing with a knife, to snipping with scissors, to chopping with an axe. And then we saw how those physical ideas stretch to cover editing a film or shrinking a budget. Each of these words paints a picture that the simple English verb cut just can't quite capture by itself.
So here's the crucial point, the big idea. This isn't just about memorizing 9 new vocabulary words. It's about a shift in your whole perspective. It's about learning to see and describe the world with more detail, more specificity, to actually think about the tool, the action, and the context before you even speak.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If a single, simple action like cutting requires so much context in just one language, what does that say about the importance of context, of precision, and of choosing just the right words in all of our communication, no matter the language? It's something to think about. Thanks so much for watching.